Hey guys, if you're enjoying the content that I'm making, please click that subscribe button. Also remember to click that bell button and make sure to tick that box to send all notifications so you don't miss out on any videos. With that in mind, let's get on with the video. What's up guys, welcome to Munchkins Gaming, where we take your gaming to the next level. This is Munchkins logging in to bring you another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And in this video we're gonna be going through the Power and Magic's Chasm Rising event in a more in-depth style and telling you guys like my tips as we play through the video. Now, I actually tried to record this earlier, but for whatever reason my mic didn't pick up, so hopefully now it's working, that I fixed it. Fingers crossed, because I don't really want to do this again. So, like I said, this is going to be a much more in-depth, wave-by-wave sort of fight, and telling you guys what's happening and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So let's go ahead and start this video with the first wave, which is the Heretic booster and the Heretic prototype. So first off, I do want to go back just a little bit here. So the turn order is pretty simple, that usually, well, before I do start, let's go through my team. So my team consists of Lightning, Sarah, and Vincent. Sarah being one of the boosted characters. Unfortunately, I don't have her 15 CP weapon maxed out, or I don't even own one of her 15 CP weapon for that matter. So my wound ability is not as strong as should be, but if you do have her 15 CP weapon, should be really good. As for my support, I opted out to get Vaughn. I do feel like he is the best one out of especially if you have a physical type of team, which I feel like you should be going with. There's a lot more weaknesses in terms of if you're using a physical damaging team. So with that in mind, again, with the turn order, usually my Lightning actually goes first here. So if my Lightning goes first, I opt out to break the prototype straight away. A normal attack is usually enough to break that down and make it fall down to the ground. The next two turns is basically will be for Sarah and my Vincent. Sarah will usually use one of her wound abilities, and Vincent will use his deadly beast flare. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happened. So I opted out to use wound, and it was a critical hit, and it ended up getting broken. So that was really good for me. And here, deadly beast flare on the booster machine. So in here, as you guys can see, I'm gonna end up using up my Moonlight because most of my Brave is nearly full, and that maxes it out and maxes out the ability itself. Now you do have to think about which one these machines are attacking, or for the boss, on that matter. So this is hitting Lightning and this is hitting Vincent, and I know that they won't get broken. You don't have to be afraid in this wave because they don't actually have any normal HP attacks. The only HP attacks they're gonna do is the wave cannon once they are 100% charged up. So you don't have to worry about anything at all in terms of getting HP attacks. So if you get broken, that's fine. You just have to make sure that you have enough abilities, or your abilities are strong enough for you to break them before they actually do their wave cannon ability. So in this case, it should be fine, no problems. A normal attack should be enough to break that down later on, but I'll use my HP attacks first, and boom, there you go. In this case, Lightning, I opted out to actually go for the break again, and that should give us a plenty of Brave. Now in this case, I am thinking whether if I should use an HP attack, but then I would get broken that way. So sometimes it's up to you guys. Like I said, play aggressive if you feel like you are your turn rate is actually going too high. Like I said before, in this particular wave, you're aiming for less than 40, and I do believe in this video I went over 40, which is really bad. But try to get in the low 40s if ever. I could have done an HP attack there, get broken, and then break it back, depending on the turn rate. And I opted out just to play it safe for now, because I know that I'm going to be able to do it. So another thing that I want to talk about is when the prototype here basically recovers and uses a normal attack. That's what it will always do. Once it goes up, it'll use a normal attack. If it's over 2000 brave, lightning's normal attack normally is not enough unless you have a lightning that has a lot of attack plus. I do believe that she can probably do a normal attack, especially if she has a buff for her attack, which is either Spark Strike or Flourish of Steel will give you that extra attack up, especially if you have the max limit break weapons for the 15 CP or the 35 CP weapon. You should be able to break that with a normal attack if you have a lot of plus attacks. But in this case, Vincent is probably the only one that can break it, and I think Sarah can do that as well since she is boosted. Vincent can do it if you activate his Live War ability. So in here I opted out to use the Live War ability on the booster machine, and that pretty much maxed me out. And in this case, it's I feel like I should break this because Vincent will use his HP attack there. So I needed to break that and make sure it falls down to the ground. And like I said, lightning normally doesn't have the attack power to break that in one hit. At least unbuff. If she is buffed, then it is possible, but I opted out to be safe and actually use Spark Strike here. And now I have 3 characters that are nearly maxed out in their brave. So I know that this will do an all-out attack. That's why I use the live wire there. So now this is a little bit debatable. It's up to you guys to hear what you want to do. The first scenario, which is what's gonna happen here, I use an HP attack. I get broken, obviously because of all the low brave here, and he will get another turn. So basically he will get up to the 90%. I know he's at 50% right now, and on that next turn he will get 90%, but he will charge up and he won't do anything else after that. Like he won't hit me with a normal attack or anything like that. So I opted out to do that. The other option for you to do is not get broken at all, but that will waste a lot of turns, so you have to be mindful about the amount of turns that you have. The other option, well, I suppose there's 3 options, is to make sure one of your characters is how do you say this, won't get broken. So for example, in this setup, probably in the turn order, the way it happened, I would have Sarah not get broken. That way, when Vincent and Lightning does get broken, they will just move back a turn to behind Sarah, and I will still have 3 turns that way. But I opted out to be a little bit more aggressive in this particular scenario. So as you guys can see, there's the break and he gets an extra turn, and now he is at 90%. In this case, he needs to go down. If I cannot kill him beforehand, then it is like I have to restart the fight. There is no way that I'm gonna be able to do this, especially without any HP regen characters. So be mindful of that. Everyone's broken, but his turn rate is way back, as you guys can see. So opted out the Mighty Beast Flare there for the extra damage, Flourish of Steel to get broken, and obviously the HP damage is very helpful. In here, opted out to break, obviously, for the extra brave. Again, with lightning is just a normal attack, should be fine. The prototype will go up and hit Sarah here, should be no problem at all. As you guys can see, A is way back, still have 4 turns in total, and Vincent has 1 extra turn in between. So the idea here is Vincent to break the prototype. That way I have a lot of extra brave, and it should be enough to kill the booster machine. If it doesn't kill, then it is game over, and then you should move on and just restart the fight. Okay, so basically this particular part of the fight is going to be just normal brave attacks and HP attacks. You can use some of your abilities here, especially I feel like I should have here, because the turn rate, I believe it ended up at 45 before I ended up killing it, which shouldn't be the case. Oh, 42, sorry. It shouldn't be really the case. Should be below 40, or at least in the low 40s, like what I have done here. Now let's break down the fight in the second wave, which is the Heretic Berserker armor. Now, like I said earlier, I opted out to bring Vaughn because Vaughn is probably the best one to deal with this fight. I normally just summon Vaughn straight away. If it is lightning, then lightning will be there. I honestly, even though I say that because lightning always comes first, but if Sarah for whatever reason comes first, I would have probably used wound and let lightning be swapped out for Vaughn. Now with Vaughn, it's up to you guys whether you want to use red spiral first for the extra buff, the attack buff, and then use the white whirl afterwards. It's really up to you guys. I opted out to just use the white whirl because it can inflict blind. There is a chance it can inflict blind on the third cast with the luminescence. So a lot of HP attacks, excuse me, a lot of HP attacks. Yeah, so here's one thing that I do want to note here. I know that Vaughn is getting targeted, and I still opt out to use his HP damage attack. This is risky on my part, very risky on my part, because this way his brave damage will be, his total brave will be quite a lot. As you guys can see, it's 4,662, nearly enough to kill my Vaughn, and it targeted my Vaughn again. If for whatever reason the Berserker armor targets my other characters, I need to bring that down as much as I can. Fortunately for me, it targeted Vaughn again, which is irrelevant in this case, because Vaughn can die and we can still get a perfect score, or we can still, get enough points, I suppose. But preferably, preferably Vaughn doesn't die. That's the aim, basically. So 4662. What happened was I only get 2 turns, and I know Vaughn's not gonna die, so I'm happy with that. Do an HP damage, do a bit of wound, or just do a normal attack here, and he will go definitely for a leaping swing. Now, if your wound is actually pretty high, that would have dropped a little bit more. So Vaughn survives that. I'm fine with that. As long as it doesn't hit my main team, I am more than happy to continue this fight. If it does hit my main team, I would have used live. If we was going to, for example, was going to hit Vincent instead. So if we go back, if he was gonna hit Vincent instead, I would have definitely live wired that and bring it as much lower as possible, because the only reason you don't really want your main team to get hit is so you can take advantage of Ifrit's 20% attack. If they are not at full HP, then there is no point. Ifrit is useless. So I got lucky here. The other option for you guys is to definitely just do a normal attack for Vaughn and not die, but that would mean that the Berserker armor will survive one more turn. So I opted out to just to risk it for the biscuit, and there you go. Now it's gonna target itself. Now here's the thing: if you have Vincent in your team, my counter to his flurry is Vincent. I would use Live War whenever he's about to use his flurry, and the indication for that is targeting himself. I actually made a mistake in this one, where I actually used my Live War pretty quickly. So in this case, I used Live War because I suppose this is a safer way. I don't know. The turn rate can be a bit touch and go with this one, because sometimes I don't use Live War here. So I'll show you guys. I use live wire. Sometimes I don't use live wire here and wait for basically for him to use Berserk. This way I have 2 turns where the attack down 2 is applied to the Berserker armor. If you opt out to use your live wire before he buffs himself, that is a waste of 1 turn where his flurry will be I suppose lower attack. So in this case, I feel like that was a mistake on my part, because when he does Berserk, as you guys can see, Vincent is still up. So I could have used live wire here instead, but it doesn't really matter at this point, I suppose, because he is going to die. There you go. If for whatever reason that he uses flurry and he breaks you, then that is pretty bad. That's why you need to know how much HP that boss has. Now I know he's pretty low because he's already in red HP, and usually 3 max braves is enough to take that down. So just be careful. If still in the green area, I probably wouldn't have risked what I did there. So just a little bit careful, because the flurry, even though you have live wire attached to it with the attack 2 down, which only lasts for 2 turns, by the way, it is still pretty scary. So try not to get broken. You'll probably only use flurry once anyway. You'll be really unlucky if you actually use it twice. So there you go. Next up is the Heretical leech. Now the Heretical leech is pretty easy, especially if you have Ifrit as your summon, and I do recommend bringing Ifrit. This is where you're gonna end up using Ifrit. In this case, I don't normally use Ifrit straight away. I wait until the last man is about to use the turn. So on the last turn of your characters, that's when you use Ifrit, because you don't really want to get debuffed. The first debuff that he will apply is the Doom debuff, which lasts for 3 turns and you will get broken. Now if you want to risk it a little bit, that's fine. Basically it's 3 turns and you will get broken regardless. You just have to keep in mind that you have 3 turns. On your 3rd turn, you will have to use an HP attack regardless of what your brave is, because he will just break you anyway. So there is no point. You can push it a little bit and not use Ifrit straight away, but I do recommend just using Ifrit, because you really want to avoid any debuffs. Doom, and especially Curse. Curse is probably the worst one, because it more than depletes half your max brave for a certain amount, like 3 turns, I do believe. So Curse is pretty bad. So in this case, I will kill this leech before he actually gets a turn, and that is the ideal way to do this fight. If for whatever reason he gets a turn, then you will have to live with the Doom, and if you're ready to transition to the last wave and you still have Doom, that is a bad sign. It's either you wait for that Doom to go away, make sure it's like he's like 1 hit away, or you know, and because he has Curse as well, that's a bit difficult. It's unpredictable when he's gonna use Curse. So I would advise you guys, if for whatever reason that you get hit by the Doom, to wait it out and make sure that he doesn't get another turn to inflict Curse, because yeah, it's pretty bad if you get inflicted by that. It's gonna take you a lot of longer turns to kill the final boss. So that's that. And the final boss is basically, now you don't have any summons left. Your abilities, like I said, use them sparingly. In this case, I have 2 of each of all my abilities split between all my characters. So I have 2 Spark Strike, 2 Flourish of Steel, 2 Wounds, 2 Moonlights, 2 Mighty Deadly Beast Flare, and 2 Live Wire Shots. So the idea in this fight is to actually stagger your abilities. For example, if for whatever reason that you use Spark Strike first, obviously to get the Brave, you will have to use your HP attack. So here's the case here. So I use Spark Strike there, and I wouldn't be using Flourish of Steel because, like, in normal co-op you would probably do that so you get the high turn rate, as you guys know, with lightning. But in this case, just use normal attack. Stagger everything, and I mean it. Try and stagger everything. So don't apply multiple abilities. In this case, you know, just doing normal attacks is fine. And the one thing you have to worry about is this all attack. Watch your turn rate. Make sure everyone gets a turn before he uses that ability. So in here, I opted out to use Flourish Steel because it was an HP damage, and I still get lightning to have another go. And I was lucky enough to get another turn. So I was like, oh, I wasn't really expecting that. So in here, I just use normal attack. I don't know why I thought I had an extra turn, but anyway, I did just use normal attacks, and it will use Thunderstorm. It still had Live Wire effects on it, so that is great for me. In this case, it's either use Spark Strike or Flourish of Steel, and I opted out to use Spark Strike here. And basically that's pretty much it for this fight, and it's basically gonna be a few more turns. It doesn't really have a lot of HP, and so you just have to keep in mind who's it attacking and how many turns do I have left. So I opted out to use HP attack there, even though I still have plenty of space for Brave, because I want to maximize the amount of HP damage I do to this thing. Luckily I got some chase damage there, and as you guys will see at the end of this video, which is pretty soon, that I actually didn't use any of my Deadly Beast Flare here. Actually still had a few of my abilities, which is kind of funny. But like I said to you guys, you make sure you stagger your abilities, and sometimes you will have extra ones, you know, and that's it. I hope this video's really helped you guys, this being much more an in-depth explanation. I'm explaining to you guys like what's happening here, and unlike my guide videos where I give you a general guide and give you general tips on the waves, and in this video it's more in-depth analysis of the fight, watching your turn rates and all that stuff. I don't know if you guys prefer these kinds of videos over the normal guides. If you prefer these kinds of video in terms of these kinds of events, because I feel like it's very hard to predict what other people will be doing in the level 70 co-op, the character events that we normally have. So I will be continue doing the guide that way. But if for whatever reason these kinds of event keeps happening and you guys want me to feature something along the lines like this, explain to you guys much more in depth on what's happening, why I'm doing this, please leave a comment down below and let me know. And I think that's it for this video. Remember to click like, subscribe, and share this video if you find it helpful at all. And like I said, leave a comment down below if you prefer the video format to be this way, a more in-depth analysis, and I will surely try and do that in the next sort of Heretic event, I suppose, at this point. And yeah, make sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Munchkins Gaming. This is Munchkins logging off, and I'll see you guys in the next level.